Thank you very much for joining us. So we're 69 years as a country, and the expectation is that at 69 years, we'll be a country very self-sufficient. After all, as we fought for independence, at the time, we felt we were capable of managing our own affairs. Well, that may not seem to be the case because the Ghana Statistical Service has told us of how some 13.3 million Ghanaians are food insecure. That's about 40% of our population. That's not all. As a country, we spend in excess of $3 billion importing food. And guess what we're importing? We're importing rice. We're importing tomatoes, sugar. Now, these are things that we can produce. For instance, we can produce rice in abundance in this country. We have enough water, in fact, for the whole of West Africa. And we saw what happened in Burkina Faso and its impact even on tomato prices in this country. At 69 years, we say, what must change to ensure that Ghana becomes not only food secure, but food sovereign? And that is our conversation this morning here on the Joy News channel. We're also live on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, this is a partnership between Joy Business and the Federation of Associations of Ghanaian Exporters to look at how we can deal with it. We've christened it Ghana at 69, Reclaiming Our Food Sovereignty. And my name is Winston Amwa. And this morning, we're joined by Member of Parliament for Ayawaso West Wogon and Deputy Food and Agri Minister John Dumelo, who's here with us. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Morning.
And Dr. Andrew Sarkodie Appiah, who is with the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, who is a molecular virologist. Thank you very much for joining us. We've also been joined by Dr. Charles Nyaaba, who is a former executive director of the Peasant Farmers Association. Would be joined shortly by David Kobo, who is president of the Federation of Association of Ghanaian Exporters. And then we'll get into the conversation on what can be done. But even before we get into what can be done, let's understand the problem very well. And let me start off with you, John Dumelo, because you are at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And consistently, it's been something we've talked about.
Right.
We know what we need to do. Right. But so much of unavailable dollars is spent annually importing food into this country.
Right.
3.25 billion
right.
spent in importing food into this country.
Right.
Why? What's that the case? What's the problem?
Well, good morning. Good morning to everyone watching and listening as well. I think we know what the issue is. And when we assumed office a year and a half ago, or even before we assumed office, we listed what the problems were, and we also listed the solutions. And when you look at the solutions, or when you look at agriculture, it's not something that you put in today and then tomorrow it comes out. I think it takes some time, but it would be a little bit fair to say that if you're talking about something like tomatoes, it will be fair to say that this for us it's literally our first dry season time, and most of the projects and policies that we put in place have started reflecting positively when it comes to tomato production. But I think some of the policies, or most of the policies that we have outlined, hopefully in the next 4 years, should help us to reduce our food import bill. If you look at rice production. Now, of course, with rice, like you rightly said, sometimes when the cedi strengthens a lot, the imports become cheaper. Also, we are looking at smuggling of rice imports. And so when you look at some of these variables, you realize that indeed that is why we have a glut of rice and so on and so forth. A few days ago, I was in Tema with the president, and they were commissioning a pasta factory. And the statistics were Ghana is behind Togo when it comes to the consumption of pasta, which is spaghetti. But we all know that that might not be the case. The case might be that, yes, Togo imports a lot, but it's mostly smuggled through, the borders, comes to Ghana, and then we consume it. And those are cheaper imports. And so if we want to really strengthen our manufacturing base, if we want to really consume what we grow, then one of the things we need to do is to close our borders so that these smuggling bandits or mafia guys just stop exactly what they're doing.
But, you know, talking about the fact that when the cedi appreciates, and what you experience is that it becomes cheaper to, you know, import things into the country. There are ways of dealing with it also, because then it becomes cheaper because those people in their country have produced and have produced at rates that are very cheap. And so if they bring it into your country, even with, you know, in a foreign currency, it still beats you. What is it that, you know, we haven't done right? So, okay, the cedi is appreciating. Good news. But what is it that we haven't done right? And so if the cedi is appreciating, how do we ensure that when it comes to, say, things that we can produce
in Ghana,
and produce sufficiently, we're able to deal with it?
I think for some of the products, we might not just be producing and processing enough. Example, poultry. We know our consumption. We only produce 5 to 6% of whatever it is we consume when it comes to our poultry products. And that's how come we launched the Akuafo Nketewa project, where we are making sure that there's enough poultry products to move around. Hence, you know, the importation will stop. And so when you look at the poultry and then Akuafo Nketewa program, is something that we know, which we launched last year. We know that exactly once everything comes into full force, we are going to reduce the imports. Now, we've started distributing the birds. We've done about 5 or 6 regions. 8 regions are in the brooding stage. Hopefully by 3-4 months, all the regions would have gotten it. And that is over 3 million birds that we are distributing. We've cut the sword for a processing factory in Bechem, where these birds will be processed and, of course, let onto the market. And so when you look at some of these policies that we have introduced, hopefully by the end of this year, we should see some amount of decrease in importation of some of these poultry products that we hitherto imported in the past years. And so these are one of the few policies that we've introduced that we know and we hope and pray that will stop the importation of poultry products along the line.
Okay, let me bring in Dr. Charles Nyaaba, who is a former executive director of the Peasant Farmers Association, because I want us to understand from you know, a farmer's perspective what this means. $3.25 billion that could have gone to farmers, sent outside the country to import food into the country. Dr. Nyaaba, what does this mean to you as a farmer, and what's the impact of this on you?
President, thank you so much. Good morning. Let me say good morning to my good friend, the Deputy Minister. Yeah, so I think we shouldn't have been where we are today if governments in the past and the current government were actually listening to farmers and doing the things that we've been advising them to do. I do agree with Dumelo on some of the points he raised, but I also disagreed with him on some of the points. I say this because government cannot continue to spoon-feed farmers. Farming is a business, and many farmers are taking it as a business. So if you want something to be business, what you need to do is to create the environment that allows them to do business, to transact business, whether with government or without government. Now, he talked about government distributing Akuafo Nketewa. The problem is not about lack of enough poultry birds in the system, or the problem is not about lack of enough rice in the Ghanaian system. The problem is farmers producing and they lose interest in going to expand their farms the coming years because they are not getting market for what they have produced. And I'm going to take this one after the other.
Okay.
Let's look at tomatoes, for instance. I grew up on the farm. My father was a tomatoes producer. The entire family were producing tomatoes in Tunu, in the Bronx. I still remember in 2008, when Akuafo came and revamped the Northern Star Tomato Factory. Farmers were promised that whatever they produced, everything was going to be consumed by the factory. Many actually sold their cattle, others went in for loans to expand the tomatoes production. Around the time, if you went the entire irrigation area, it was red. You will not even see the sun because the tomatoes, we produce so much. When it came to marketing, the factory could take only less than 5% of what was produced. And know how perishable tomatoes are. So farmers could not actually contain the post-harvest losses. There were a lot of farmers who took off their life because they owned banks and other financial institutions they could not pay. So since then, most of them lost interest in tomatoes production. Now, we take rice. For lack of time, I won't go into details, but let's just take rice. What is happening now? We were all promised under the Feed Ghana that government was coming to ensure that they create more mechanization centers where they will put all the farm machinery, they will be combined, and then they will also support the private sector to set up mills to process what has been produced. What we are seeing in the market is not because government has intervened or given government anything. Feed Ghana so far, they are doing only policies. We have not received anything. It is through our own efforts that we produce the rice that people are seeing and they say is blood. And I don't call it blood because I think that what we produced in 2024, we couldn't sell. And what we produced in 2025 came to Parliament. So we were very excited when we got the directives from the president earlier that the school feeding program we were going to buy from the local farmers, the rice and the maize. So we were all prepared, waiting for them to come. Listen, what happened? The contractors they engaged to buy the produce from the farmers decided to import them. They gave contracts to people. Instead of buying from the farmers, they imported the rice, leaving the farmers with the
Wait. Charles Nyaaba, hold on. You're saying that the contractors who were supposed to buy these produce from you farmers went ahead to import, leaving you with your products. Is that what you're saying?
Listen, I'm saying this with confidence and evidence. If you remember, last 3 weeks, there was a baser in Sayo Sudoku who diverted school feeding rice, and he was arrested. The rice that he diverted was what? It was all imported rice. So we are not speculating, and we all know what is happening in the various regions. Now, apart from that, government again announced when we engaged the ministry about lack of market for maize, lack of market for rice. Through the Ministry of Finance, it was announced later part of last year that government released 200 million to National Food Buffer Stock to come and mop this produce from us. Listen, as we speak, I'm with the farmers every day. We keep engaging National Food Buffer Stock to publish the list of the people they engage to mobilize this produce. They are failing to do that. And there's no evidence from any farmer that National Food Buffer Stock came to buy from them. So if today my brother is
Hello, Charles, yes.
Political talk, it won't go anywhere because because we heard these promises over and over and over. Before NDC came to power, we were all excited. They said under the Feed Ghana, there's going to be farmer mechanization centers where we have everything. You have fertilizer, you have everything. As we speak, let's see whether he can point at one mechanization center in any part of the country that they have established. So for us, we have a good opportunity to actually become a supplier of some of the commodities we are talking about. When you take Akumada, you take Tiobodom, you take even Kintempo, you go to even Adan here in Accra, you go to Pologo, you go to Navrongo, you go to all these areas. I'm telling you, the government increase investment in irrigation, increase investment to ensure that whatever is produced, we are able to sell. Within a year, there is no way we need to go to Burkina to go and import tomatoes. The same go for onions. The same go for rice. But we do so much talk without actually implementing what we talk. And that is why farmers are gradually losing confidence. Let me tell you, who's saying that next year things will change? Things will get worse. In the sense that today, you have millions of farmers who have their rice on their farm. They could not even convey them to the nearest warehouses. Do you expect those people to go back to farm again? So those who go back to farm, they don't have anything to do. They have no alternative source of income. So they will go, but they are most likely to reduce the sizes of their farms. And we keep saying this every day. We echo this in the ears of government, but nobody is listening to us. So we think that if we actually want Ghana to become a net exporter of some of these commodities, the soil, we have the good soils, the labor, the human resources there, we are willing to do it. The government need to actually walk the talk, and then they try to engage farmers to listen to what is happening. Because if they were engaging farmers to listen to what is happening, I think by now, some of the problems we are talking about wouldn't be the case. But we are not seeing that.
So for you, I mean, because you've raised the point that some people will not go back into farming, for you, when you engage farmers, what do they tell you? Are they willing to continue farming this season, or they say they've had enough?
You see, as we speak, there is no hope. And most of the farmers have hope in us. When we go, we don't just discourage them. I visited a farming community where the chief, when he heard that I came around, he came out with his people to beg me, a chief begging me, that dog, you and your group, what are you doing? The rice is there. We need to send our kids to school. Can you just help us with, even if you are just giving us 10% of the amount, we will keep the rice for you. Anytime you are ready, you come for them. I called National Food Buffer Stock to complain to them that I was willing to use my own money to buy the rice from these farmers and keep. Anytime they are ready, they should come and take it and give my money. They never mind me. So those farmers, do you expect them to go and take loan and expand their farms again? Because they have nothing to do. If they give out these commodities, next year they'll go in, but they will go at a reducing farm sizes. Now, what is happening? A committee was formed by National Food Buffer Stock in MOFA. I'm a member of the committee. We sat and agreed prices that we will go and buy from the farmers. Even though those prices were not attractive enough compared with what we were selling last year, we agreed that we will buy maize for 3 cedis, 50 pesos per kilo. Paddy rice, 5 cedis per kilo. Listen, as we speak, some of the same government officials who have linkage to market went to the field and they are buying the rice for 2 cedis, 50 pesos from the farmers. Last year, the same rice, we were selling it around 6 cedis per kilo. 2 cedis, 50 pesos means 250 Ghana cedis per 100 kg. Last year, if we were selling the rice around 600 Ghana cedis, and fertilizer last year is more expensive than this year. So you can now do your calculation and see the losses that the farmers are going through. We go to maize. Maize last year, a bag 100 kg was going for, the farm gate, was going for between 600 and 700 Ghana cedis. Today, you go to most of the places, and a bag is going for less than 300 Ghana cedis. Some places, even 250 Ghana cedis. Yet, we are not getting people to come and buy. Do you expect somebody who invested in 100 acres of maize to go back and expand that farm next year? The person will obviously not, because even if you want to do, the capacity will not allow him. Okay. Because what he has already produced, you couldn't sell. Okay. So that is the situation on the field as we speak. Great.
Hold on for me. Let me just bring in Honorable John Dumelo briefly before I get to, Dr. Sarkodie Appiah, because I see you've been noting a lot of things down. He's talked about a lot of things that are not being done right. And so he says, well, all we have done is just to talk about the policies, but the real actions cannot be felt. Honorable Dumelo.
Well, thank you. I mean, I listened to Dr. Nyaaba, and of course, his comments, you can look at it half empty or half full. But when you talk about government should stop spoon-feeding farmers, I mean, it's a wrong assertion, because everywhere in the world, most governments bring in incentives, give farmers incentives for them to be able to thrive. And that's exactly what our government is doing. And that is why we are giving the farmers what they need for them to produce at a very good price. The next one, he's talking about the farm service centers. Coincidentally, next week or next 2 weeks, the president is cutting sword for the farm service centers in the farm plains. And this year alone, we'll cut the sword for almost 11 or 12 farm service centers. The goal for the farm service centers that at the end of the 4 years, we would have established or completed over 250 farm service centers across the country. And so when he's talking about the fact that we've not established any farm service centers, where are the farm service centers? I mean, I beg to differ. The truth of the matter is that The farm service centers are going to be established for us to be able to, or for the farmers to be able to have access to mechanization, to fertilizer, to seeds, to some inputs, technical assistance and so on and so forth. But I can tell you confidently that that is something that is being worked on. And so when he's saying that where are the farmer service centers, I think he's just being a little bit mischievous when it comes to that. Now, with the talk about the irrigation sites, 2 weeks ago I visited 3 or 4 irrigation sites. I visited via left and right bank. I visited the Tamne Dam. I visited the new one that we are putting up around Garu. And I can confidently tell you that these dams are being renovated and some are being put up from scratch. And that is exactly what the farmers need. Now, when it comes to tomato production, for the first time in so many years, the farmers in Garu, the farmers in Timpani are producing tomatoes. And I went there personally, I saw the tomatoes, and I encouraged them that I said, look, next year or next dry season, please, can you produce more? What is it that you need from the government for us to do for you, for us to be able to, or for you to be able to produce more? And so these are some of the success stories that we are talking when it comes to tomato production. And so when he says that, oh, farmers are discouraged from producing this year, I beg to differ. And so with that, I think he should just slow down when it comes to that. But I can tell you for a fact that I've interacted with most farmers, and they are happy and willing to be able to produce more when it comes to their produce this year. Thank you.
Great. Let me bring in, Dr. Sarkodie Appiah, because you are with the Biotechnology and Nuclear Agriculture Research Institute of the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, and focusing on applying nuclear and biotechnology techniques to agriculture. And I've seen some of your, writings, your articles on, products. But there's this concern by many Ghanaians or those within farming that we have not focused on new and improved seedlings that could actually boost production. Is that the case based on your understanding of this area? What's happening?
Okay, thank you very much. What I will say is that Ghana has a lot of reputable research institutions and universities that are into agricultural research. And to talk of Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, BNARI, we have CSIR, the University of Ghana, University of Cape Coast, and the rest. Now we have the expertise, and I must say that we have been able to produce a lot of some improved varieties. For instance, our collaboration with the University of Cape Coast, we have been able to produce some cassava variety, improved cassava varieties that are disease resistant, that has high beta carotene content.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm listening.
Okay, high beta carotene content. So what we need to do is, or the help that we are seeking is that the government should come in and help to multiply these cassava sticks for farmers who are in need of. And also, what I've realized is that most of the time we do not breed for purpose. There are cassava starch processing companies. They can approach us and say that, I'm talking about the private sector, we need cassava with this level of starch content. Can you help us with it? We can breed for purpose so that that cassava will be dedicated solely for starch production.
Okay, you've introduced a very important issue, the fact that we don't breed for purpose. So yes. What you're expecting is that you expect, persons within the private space or industries to come to you and say, this is what we want you to do, this is what we need, and so look into what you can do for us, and you are prepared to help?
Yes, we are always prepared to help. Yeah, we are prepared to help. We have a lot of technologies. For instance, we also have the tissue culture technology. And I must say that when MD2 pineapple was introduced into the country initially, it was BNARI that took up the challenge, and we multiplied these planting materials of the MD2 in larger quantities for farmers. We partner with the bioplantlets to be able to achieve that. Now, bioplantlets is no more. The facility is sitting down there. So what I'm asking is that the government and the public sector should give us that needed support. Elsewhere, in successful agricultural economies, about 1 to 3% of their GDP is dedicated to research and development. But in Ghana, I believe it is far, far lower. And because of that, most of our laboratories lack the needed equipment. Okay, we lack the needed equipment. We are not able to also expand our field trials because of lack of funding. And also, when we bring out technology, we are not able to scale up the technology because of lack of funding. So what I'm trying to say is that we are ever ready. We have all the technologies. What we need is the government support in terms of funding. Funding is very critical. Until we do that, we'll still be relying on importation to fill up the supply gap.
Okay. Let me bring in, Charles Nyaaba in at this point. And I'll get to you, Honorable John Dumelo, because then the issue about funding is very important. Right. Because part of the conversation when it comes to tomatoes is that, and for those of us, you always hear, oh, we want the Navrongo variety. Right. We want this particular variety because this one has too much fluid in it, so why don't you get that one for us? Right. Now, how are we ensuring that we're able to produce these things? But let me bring you in, Charles Nyaaba, at this point, because Dr. Sarkodie Appiah makes the point. He says, well, they can produce their seedlings. And I'm sure as farmers, you should be interested in these seedlings that can boost production, that can withstand weather conditions and all, shouldn't you?
I think I'll come to that, but let me just give a very short rebuttal. I'm getting a lot of messages from the farmers that they are actually frightened with what Dumelo is saying, that farmers are so happy and that next year they were going to expand their farms. Because they are thinking that it means all the noise they're making, government is not really listening. Or they have a section of the farmers that they go to contact. Because everywhere they keep claiming that which part of this country, looking at what farmers are going through, and farmers are excited that next year they'll go into production. So I would have been happier if he had admitted that, look, we have challenges, we are working to ensure that you produce a bought. But if he keeps saying that what I'm saying is mischievous, based on promises that they made before elections, that you will set up farmer services centers, and you are promising the same thing that the president will cut short. Because I was saying point out one, and you are saying because your intention is to cut short, which I'm not part of your government, and I should be jubilating. And if I complain, that means mischievous. It's unfortunate. And I think the farmers are telling him that he should watch out. And he shouldn't play politics.
Hello, Dr. Nyaaba. Okay, I think we're having some challenges with Dr. Nyaba's connectivity. And so we'll try and rectify that. But you want to make a point, Dr. Sarkodie? Okay. Honorable Dumelo, so this is it. Yeah. Now, we have research institutes. Right. Okay, so we're told that Dr. Nyaaba is back. I'll get back to you. But Dr. Nyaaba, yes, please go ahead.
I was saying that when we come to tomatoes, we have farmers with expertise who are willing to work with atomic energy, willing to work with CSI. Already we've been working with them. So the increase in maize supply you are seeing in recent times is based on the research they've been doing. And somehow for them, they're doing their best. And I don't still think that the government is empowering them enough. And so sometimes I get worried that I don't hear their voices, because you cannot, the era we are in, you cannot modernize agriculture without research and development. But on many occasions, there are fantastic technologies they want to introduce to the farmers. But due to limited investment from government, they are not able to do that. So if he's telling me that they are coming out with new technology to improve our cassava, to improve tomato seeds and other things, I think we are all for that, and then we are willing to partner with them to ensure that we improve this. But what I said was, I didn't say government should not spoon-feed farmers, just like you were saying. Or I didn't say they shouldn't give support to farmers. What I said was that you need to look at the marketing part, because you cannot continue to give us fertilizer for free. Just like he and his boss keep saying. They went to Tamale and gathered chiefs and told the chiefs that this year they are giving every farmer fertilizer for free. It's online, you can Google it. I mean, so they are still just playing politics. The political season is over. It's fair the reality. Farmers are not calling you to give them free things. They are telling that create a business environment for them to be able to produce. We are not beggars. We are business people. And most of us are producing just like other farmers outside this country and the developed country are producing. Go to Nyaaba valleys. You see people producing thousands of acres of rice on their own, got their own combined, their own tractors without government support. So I think if they want us to collaborate, we'll do that. If they still go this tangent of always trying to play politics with everything, because they think Ghanaians don't know what is going on. Farmers are watching them. So this is just advice I'm giving to him and his team. Okay.
Let's move on. And in moving on, I'll start with you, Honorable John Dumelo, because things must change. And so let's focus on what must change. Right. What is it that we can do differently? We've talked about the problems. Of course, we know what the problems are. Right. And Dr. Sarkodie Appiah has made a fantastic point. Research is a very important aspect of it, you know, because today here we are, and, you know, they're using technology to do a lot of things which could be beneficial to our farmers. But they say the funds are needed. Right. What is the Ministry of Food and Agriculture doing? Right. How is it helping these research-based institutions to research into effective seedlings and other varieties for our farmers?
Right. Well, thank you. I think what is very important is the word efficiency. And without efficiency, we cannot produce or we cannot continue as farmers. Now, it is very important that we bridge the gap between the research institutions and government, all the research institutions and private sector. And this year, that is exactly what it is that we are going to do, because we cannot move forward and keep on pumping money and keep on doing the same things over and over again. And so I can confidently tell you, from the ministry point of view, that this year we are collaborating so much more, so much more with the research institutions, so that, look, I've visited so many research institutions, you know, across the country, and I realized that some of the varieties that they are producing is fantastic, it's innovative, and we have to push them. But sometimes, of course, government cannot do all. And so it's between us, private sector, and the research institutions that would help us to be able to move forward in the right direction. And so I can confidently tell you that this year, we're going to collaborate more with the research institutions so that hopefully by next year, all these various type of seeds, tomatoes, cassava, maize, rice, and so on and so forth, all these improved varieties are well funded and are on the market for farmers to have.
So that is something that is going to be done?
Yes, definitely.
This year?
Yes.
Do you by chance know how much you've set aside for this collaboration? Because we want to come back and find out what has really happened.
No. I mean, it would be premature for me to say we've set aside X amount or Y amount or this. But I can confidently tell you that in the next 3 or 4 months, we will not be having this. We will be having an improved conversation when it comes to the collaboration between us and the research institutions.
Let me find out from you, Dr. Sarkodie Appiah. So, if you had funds, paint the picture for us. If you had funds, for instance, what can you do to improve our food situation?
Okay, thank you very much. What I will say is the government should give us the needed support. We come out with the new varieties, with the technologies, and we are looking forward also to the private sector to come in and say, you have produced this variety, I want to commercialize it. So that the food processor will say that, I want this particular variety for this kind of production. Can you do it for me? And then the other processors or the food company will also come in and fund our technologies, our innovation, like packaging and storage facilities. Now, when you come to Ghana Atomic Energy and BNARI, to be specific, we have so many technologies. I talked about the tissue culture technology, where we are able to do mass propagation or multiplication of planting materials for farming. We have done that for pineapple during the bioplantless era, and now plants are far advanced. We are partnering with Ghana Exim Bank to give us that needed support to be able to produce, again, the MD2 pineapple varieties to be distributed to farmers. Now, we have done it for plantain, we have done it for pineapple, and banana and other crops, sweet potato, and all the rest. Now, we can do more. We also have the black soldier fly technology, where we use the black soldier fly to produce animal feed, poultry feed, and also pig feed. And then we can also use the frass as biofertilizer. We have the mutation breeding technology, and through the mutation breeding technology, in collaboration with other institutions, with the KNUST, we produced the tech banche, which is resistant to the African cassava mosaic disease. That cassava is still in use now. And together with cocoa research, we produce cocoa varieties that are resistant to the cocoa swollen shoot disease. And our collaboration with UCC, we have produced about 5 varieties of cassava that has different traits, like high beta-carotene content, which means that it is a good precursor for, the high beta-carotene is a precursor for vitamin A. So when such cassava is given to children and pregnant women, for instance, it helps them to get enough vitamin A in their system to prevent certain kind of diseases and deficiency. So we have a lot of technology.
And talking about this technology, talking about the research, so let's understand something. If you, in researching to produce a variety and all of that, how much does it cost you to, go into it so that we can, because you're calling on the private sector, they're watching, so they can have an idea of, how much you would need to assist the food sector?
I think it will be difficult to give a specific amount because each project has its own...
on the average?
On the average, and it depends on the project. Let's say if I'm doing mutation breeding, we are looking at maybe over 100,000, 200, 300,000 cedis should be.
Okay.
For mutation, yes, Ghana cedis. For mutation breeding.
See the way you say, you go feel fun out.
Well, let me say that we've also been joined.
Some projects also need about 300,000 Ghana cedis,
okay,
and so on and so forth.
We've been joined by Emmanuel.
Millions of dollars.
Okay, so that's a lot. It's important. We'd have to do that.
That's why I didn't want to quote any figure because
it's good. At least we have a fair idea. Emmanuel Ansah Aprofi is head of projects Agri1. He's joined us in studio, and also joining us via Zoom is Davis Kobo, who is president of FAGE. We'll get to Davis and Emmanuel shortly, but that will be after these few messages from our partners. But let me tell you about the Enterprise Insurance Naturally, which is ultimate football experience, because look, Jonathan Syme is living proof that insurance can actually reward you. He's the first raffle winner of the Naturally motor promotion from Enterprise Insurance. He simply insured his car and is now packing his bags for an ultimate football experience abroad, live at the stadium. Imagine that, and yes, you could be the next. So just buy or renew your motor insurance from Enterprise Insurance and stand a chance to win big. A sponsored ultimate football experience, fuel coupons, airtime and branded souvenirs from now till May 2026. This promo is regulated by NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply. Enterprise, your advantage. Stay with us. When we return after these messages, we'll bring in Davis Kobo, we'll also bring in Emmanuel. We'll look at how we can deal with the situation. What must change? Issues of irrigation and, most importantly, marketing, okay? The markets for, these products. All of that coming up here on the Joy News channel and also live on the Super Morning Show with me, Winston Amwa. We'll be right back. So welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us here on the Joy News channel. We're also live on Joy 99.7 FM, and we're focusing on Ghana at 69, reclaiming our food sovereignty. Because look, the concern is that today, some 13.3 million Ghanaians are food insecure. And the fact that you've heard from Dr. Charles Nyaaba make the point that farmers are struggling. And if care is not taken, you wouldn't have a lot of people going into production this season. That's not what we want. We want to ensure that, look, we have improved seedlings to withstand our weather conditions. We have irrigation. And it's one thing we will talk about because we've consistently talked about irrigation. Okay, if we were to do an analysis of all our budgets over the years, okay, the Accra Plains would feature prominently when it comes to irrigation and all. What are we doing when it comes to irrigation? What are the major irrigation projects to actually give us all-year farming? And what assistance are we providing for farmers who want to get into irrigation? What about the markets? Okay, do we have markets for these farmers? And so it's important we get into that. And that's what we're going to be focusing on now, on what must change here on this thought leadership, that is a partnership between Joy Business and FAGE. But let me start off with you this time around. Davis Kobo, who is president of FAGE, on what must change. So, Davis, we know the problem. We now have to focus on solving it. And in solving it, we want new ideas. Dr. Sarkodie Appiah has talked about, the need to have even the private sector come to them. For instance, all those who are into, processed food and all, come and say, this is what I need. And they would help you in getting into, improve seedlings that can help you. When we were on the break, we were having conversations about, I'm not going to mention the name of the brands, different brands of, fufu flour, and how one gives you a different feeling from the other. And these are things that we could do if we're to invest more into research. But let me bring you in at this point, David Skobo, and find out, so what must change? What should we do differently? We've been trying a lot of things. We've tried all manner of things. They don't seem to have worked much for us. What should we do differently now?
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners. And I've seen Dr. Nyaaba, my Honorable Deputy Minister, and the rest. Good morning once again. Yes, what must change? I think for me, as a country, we have to be intentional about what we do as far as agriculture is concerned. In as much as government is playing its role, I think we, the producer, the exporter, should also do our part. And how do we do that? I think that for me, if you go elsewhere, most of this, let's take Brazil for instance. You go to Brazil, you see big players in the food or the agri space who are being supported by government. But again, they are doing under the cooperative system. So it means that the cooperative approach, where you do the push-pull system, is one of the most perfect ways to do it. When I talk about push-pull system, you have the nucleus farmer and the smaller farmer, means an outgrower, sort of, where you deploy whatever incentives to the nucleus farmer and make sure that they take care of the outgrowers to produce, to feed whatever market it is. And by doing this, you are looking at the standards, you are looking at quality, you are looking at yield and the rest. Because you can't, for me, irrigation, if you want to deploy irrigation, it can't be in silos. It should be a comprehensive irrigation system where everybody is benefiting. You bring water to the doorsteps of the producers. So it can't be just a borehole style of irrigation. That won't work. So I think that for me, the push-pull system is something that we need to, because one beautiful thing about the push-pull system is the nucleus farmer out there look for the market and you produce to feed that market. Let's look at our current situation within the tomatoes. 69 years, and we are still traveling all the way to Burkina Faso and also to bring tomatoes and onions, whereas we have the same temperature, the same climate. If you go to the north, the climate is as perfect as the same Burkina Faso climate. So what is the difference? The same white, black voter, the tributaries are in the same corridor. So what is the difference? And this is where you cash in with the nucleus farmers to make sure that they deploy whatever services to the outgrowers and make sure that they produce to meet that market, feed the industry, feed our local, how do you call it, demand, and also export. Because you can't do this without certification and standards. Because if you are just doing it and you just presume that everybody wants to be a farmer, so and that's the more reason why I with the school of thought that for people, government to say everybody to go into farming is wrong. Because we have people.
Why is that wrong?
It is wrong because you see, farming, it takes some sort of dedication and discipline and other things to be able to do that. Because if everybody should move into farming, the person doesn't have the passion, and they ask the person to go into farming, it becomes I don't know how to put it, but then if we are saying that, then we should also be able to deploy role models to be able to mentor these people and make sure that they take agri as a business, not just as a hobby. Because if you are doing the hobby type, then I don't think that we are doing agri. Because, like I said, 69 years, and we pride ourselves as an agrarian country. Meanwhile, we're still doing rain-fed agriculture. How do we compete when the lives of Brazil, the lives of even Cote d'Ivoire just here, is doing far better? You understand? So these are some of the systems I think we should be able to put in place. And I saw, before I joined, there was something Dr. Nyaaba said, And I applaud him for that. That you can't move agric in this country without research. It is unheard of. It's also, it should be a stakeholdership thing where we bring in all those people as collaborators, the researchers, the how do you call it, the producers themselves, the aggregators, the exporters, everybody under one umbrella, and government with policy. Because most of these things are policy directions as well. So we need to get our system right. I think we've been crying a lot about what has gone wrong, but I think, and I'm happy you mentioned that we need to find solutions to it, and the solution is what we are professing now. Okay.
Now, let me bring in Emmanuel. What must change? What must we do differently?
So if you ask me, thank you very much. And thank you for all the listeners and also viewers. And thanks, Docs, for bringing this up. Technology must be a key component of our agriculture and agribusiness. And because here in the case that you go to an event and you have an institution looking to buy, let's say, 4 containers of yam every month.
Okay.
It will surprise you that currently in this country, you will not find one farmer that can produce 4 containers of 20-footer yam consistently for the whole year. The reason is simple. We have not embedded much technology into our system, into our farming system. And that is to say that we need what we call agricultural infrastructure development. That is one, irrigation-backed growing. So you grow, make sure that we have irrigation deployed in its most efficient and smallest manner. Now, somebody having 5 acres, would you say does he need irrigation? Yes, because that 5 acres can actually work to produce onions all year round if he has the right amount of water supply at the right time. I keep saying that our farms do not need rains, it needs water. Now, we are allowing how many liters? I mean, Kojo mentioned that we have about 5 billion cubic of water running on our surface. The amount of water we allow into the water, from the water dam or from the lake into the sea alone, is what we can harness to make sure that that corridor is a full irrigated field. Now, if the research institutions are producing the right seeds, but this right seed, this correct seeds will not germinate on hard soils. It will germinate only in an environment that has been programmed to make sure that it arrives. That is to say that better germination, now crop care now comes in. So you now have drones being deployed to do spraying and even broadcasting. These are all accessible technologies that are available. You also mentioned about farmer service centers or mechanization centers. We can never get it right if we keep doing a lip service to our agriculture with mechanization. Now, let's make it mechanization attractive for the average Winston who is sitting at Joy FM or multimedia to say, I want to invest in a tractor and put it on a platform that works for me. Because if we have individuals investing in Uber or in taxis and putting it on a platform like Bolt and Co., that works. The same way that we should be able to make agric financing and agric equipment and machinery financing attractive. Another angle has to do with the banks. Central bank must make it a policy to make sure that agric lending is different from the traditional lending. You can't continue to have our conversation around this when you have 27, 26, 25% interest rate given to somebody who's doing pineapple. Pineapple is a 14-month cycle. So this pineapple farmer in Edukrom has no moratorium. He even struggle with all the collateral that he has to get to get the financing. Now, when he gets the financing, he's hovering around 27% per annum. But that 27% per annum, which is in 12 months, the pineapple is not even ready for harvesting. So government must shift from the traditional lending and make agri financing better. We were able to put COVID levy. We were able to do NHIL levy. It is the same way we should be able to carve an agricultural fund or an agricultural levy to make sure that it finances the issues of agriculture.
Hold on. We should bring what? Agric levy.
If that is what we are serious as a nation, we're able to get NHIL levy, right? So if we are not able to now bring an innovative
and that agric levy, what are we going to use it for?
And this is where now planning and policy direction comes in. Mechanization is the first point of it. If you give the farmer all the fertilizer and all the seeds, and they go and drop it on the hard soil, it will not germinate. So mechanization on agric infrastructure is what it should go into. Developing, government has a beautiful plan, and I read some of them with a water basin and all those that. But that plan can only be achieved with financing behind it.
Okay, let me bring in Dr. Sarkodie Appiah. What must change?
Yeah, I believe we should have, or we should build a complete agricultural ecosystem. That will take care of the irrigation that he's talking about. That will take care of financing, continuous, consistent financing, agricultural financing. That will take care of processing, agro-processing. We should have a policy with research at the center. Because research, we are able to offer data on crop production, for instance. We are able to even assess the outcome of previous policies to be able to direct the future, the way new policies should go. For instance, if you consider the planting for food and jobs, for instance, now have we done any impact assessment? No, we have not done that. But we have introduced another policy, which is the planting for food and jobs. What I will say is that...
The Feed Ghana.
The Feed Ghana program, yes. Sorry. Now, what I will say is that we should have consistent agricultural policies. Now, what I've realized is that there are a lot of stop-start agricultural programs in the country. Now, agricultural policies change with new administration. So we don't continue, we just leave it there. Now, they seem to be doing well initially, but all of a sudden they lose that momentum because the required structures that are needed to push that for us to be able to benefit are not there. New governments come and they change policies, they rename policies. Sometimes they abandon it all together, and then they start a new one. When that one is about to peak, about to benefit us, they leave power, and then another person comes, and then we are in just a cyclical, how do you call it? I don't know how to put it. So we need a policy that will take us through to the end. For agricultural policy, you need between 10 to 20 years to be able to benefit. But since 1992, I have not seen any government stay in power beyond 8 years. So it means that if that is the case, that means that at the end of every 8 years, we change policy. We don't continue the existing ones. And we are in that, we are marking time, you know. So we have to have policies that are long-term so that we will be able to benefit.
Okay, let me bring in, Dr. Charles Nyaaba in at this point. And I ask you the same question, Dr. Nyaaba, what must change? If you can unmute so we can hear you, yes.
Yeah, so I would look at it from 3 different angles, 4 different angles. We look at the production sector.
Okay.
Where we are looking at the farmer deeply involved in the actual production, having access to irrigation, extension services, fertilizer, and all the machinery that are needed. And I also emphasize that we will need government to facilitate this sector, but not to try to do the direct investment. Okay? And I'm going to give you a typical example that we did, which is working. In 2018, my association was contacted by Guinness Ghana Brewery Limited that they want to shift away from importing barley to using sorghum to produce more and the other beverages. But they are not getting it. So they are willing to partner with us, with our government. So we started, so they used to do 100% barley. So we started gradually, it's going down. As at last year, 2025 to date, Guinness Ghana are taking 100% sorghum from Ghana. They are not importing. Okay. And today, when you go to most of the areas, because of lack of access to market for rice and maize, most farmers want to shift into sorghum production. And what did they do? They engage us, they provided the extension services, they support us with SARI, to come up with improved sorghum varieties. But we went and engaged the banks to get the money to buy those varieties, support the farmers with mechanization, support them with training on aflatoxin control and then moisture control. And Guinness Ghana are getting the quality. I'm told other countries are coming to learn from them. Just one institution, and that's what they did. So we need to focus on that. Government just needs to facilitate, support the research institution to work with the farmers, and some of the issues you are talking will be addressed. Now, the second one has to do with the services we are talking about. And I think all my other colleagues put emphasis on that. Irrigation. You remember, before the election, I went and then we mounted a demonstration in Lergu on the Polgo multipurpose dam. And that demonstration came up because prior to the 2016 elections, we had the opportunity of engaging the NPP manifesto team. We engaged NDC manifesto team, those who were drafting it, and realized that NPP at the time, superior manifesto that was focusing on addressing irrigation. And Polgo multipurpose dam was one of the dams that they said they were going to construct. So when we were following up, we keep engaging and realized that nothing was happening. Because later on we were told that, oh, some amount of money, $12 million was invested in the irrigation. But when we went there, we those were in the field, realized that nothing happened. Okay? So we had to do that demonstration. Later on, even we engaged John Dumelo's boss, John Dramani Mahama, prior to the elections. And he also promised us that he's going to do something different from what NPP did in terms of the Polgo multipurpose irrigation dam. So we need to focus on irrigation development. We should take politics out of this. Because if you want to continue to use political language, we are not going to make any headway. Okay. So irrigation is very important. Feeder roads is important. Warehousing is very important. When we do all this, and that's where we actually need government, when we do that, then we now talk of value addition, processing, and marketing. And if in that area too, government doesn't need to do all, just create the enabling environment. Mr. Kabo is there, he's my friend. He has been doing export and other things. He doesn't need money from government. What he needs is government to create the enabling environment for him to get financing, good policy for him to be able to support the farmers, just like I said, to produce for him to take for export. Government don't need to go and give him fertilizer to go and do that. Yes. Now, let me land here because I'm sorry you are trying to stop me. Now, we now need to consider policies. And with that policy, the mistake we are making is that we are not engaging the right people to help in developing the policy and monitor the policy implementation. Because we need a farmer. If you talk of the Feed Ghana, I like the last speaker who spoke. Feed Ghana is talking about creating mechanization centers. So sometimes, I don't know, those who sit behind the policy, they don't have experience in how to manage mechanization. Can government or any district manage mechanization centers? We've done that farmer mechanization centers before. I tell you to manage one tractor, you cannot even manage it. So we only need to create enabling environment to allow the private man who is already providing mechanization services, combined services, for that person to bring in some of these machineries and now provide the same services to the farmer. But if you create centers, it won't take more than 3 years, all those centers will collapse. Then we need to also look at the technology, which is key. Technology. Go and look for the past several years. Go and look at budget that we always allocate to research and development. On many occasions, less than 2% of the total budget to the agriculture sector. But in this era we live in, you can never develop your agriculture no matter how much you invest with the research and development. Because whilst other countries are coming up with technology to get about 30 bucks on 1 acre, if you stay with our traditional way of doing it, you are still talking about 5 to 10 bucks. So there's no way you are going to be able to compete with those people. Then financing then comes in. As you go and take loan of 30% interest per month, per annum, 30% interest per annum. I produce rice, the rice is lying on the field. The whole year I'm not getting anybody to buy. How can I pay?
All right, hold on for me, Dr. Nyaaba, because we need to hear from the Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture, John Dumelo. So these are the issues that have come up on what must change. Now, tell us what it is that you're doing and what you will do to address these issues.
Well, thank you. Let me just respond briefly to what Dr. Nyaaba said. I mean, he gave a very beautiful example of, Guinness Ghana engaging them back in 2018.
Yeah.
And in 2024, it's almost very successful. That's 6 years. Yet, he wants everything to be done when NDC came to power, when the new government came to power within a year. Agric takes a long time. There's short, medium, and long term. And I can tell you that some of the things that we are doing, or most of the policies that we are doing, are laying the foundation for us to have a better agric economy. And so he should relax when he's talking about, it's as if he's saying government is not doing anything. Yet he's giving classical examples of things that they've done privately that is taking 6 years. And so with that, I would like to tell him that, he should slow down. An example with the irrigation. The short term, we are providing solar boreholes to farmers across the country. The Galamsey pumps that we seized are the ones we've distributed over 1,000 Galamsey pumps to farmers across the country to be able to irrigate their farms. And those are short term. Medium term and long term is what we are developing the Bong left bank, the Via, the Tamne, and so on and so forth. These are huge these are huge irrigation schemes that might take a little bit of time to fully complete and fully functional. And so when it comes to when it comes to irrigation, these are the things that we are doing. And then also when it comes to lending, I mean, we have Exim Bank giving us very good interest rates. We have OVCF, that is the Outgrower Fund, Outgrower Value Chain Fund. Those guys too are also giving very good interest rates. And so for those who want all those loans, I mean, I don't think now if you walk into Exim Bank or OVCF, they would give you a rate of 30%. They would give you something good for you to be able to work with. And so these are the things that government is doing. But most importantly, I think we should be patriotic enough to consume what is Ghana made. That is the underlying factor. I mean, if everyone gets up and says, look, tomorrow we want to eat made in Ghana rice, or for the whole month of March or April or May, we want to eat made in Ghana rice, I think it will create some form of demand, and some of these farmers would have some relief because, of course, there's demand on it. But government, on our part, we are also trying as much as possible to create farmers markets in almost all the regions, so that when the goods come from the farm gates, they come straight to these farmers markets, and then individuals can be able to go and buy. And so these are the things that we are working on, and I can guarantee that by the end of next year or by the middle of next year, all these policies will be fully in place, and it will be a great time to be a farmer. Great.
So we should look forward to next year. We need to be wrapping up, but I need to give you the final word to the president of FAGE. So Davis Kobo, you've heard from the Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture. He says by end of next year, maybe middle of next year, we would see many of these policies and programs beginning to yield results. What would you say finally?
Yeah, I think let me thank him for his assurance. But I also want to quickly say that he made mention of Exim Bank, the OVCF, and other financial institutions. I think what we need as a country, as producers, is a special purpose vehicle, a single-digit interest rate. I think that can be done. A single-digit interest rate for our farmers to be able to produce. Because for me, there's something I always say, that our farmers are hardworking, they listen, and the only thing is they need an enabling environment, which of course has been created by government, but we also need other things to move it. There are a lot of infrastructure deficits and other which need to be complemented before we can move and also, position ourselves and compete. It's about time we see competition as a threat. And for me, that is one thing that I've been saying. So let's rather look at the financing channel and to make sure that we get it right. Once we get our financing channels right, people are ready to move. Let's also make sure that we get a lot of investors in to come and invest in agriculture in Ghana, where some incentives are deployed. In fact, I'm happy to say that, like the President said 2 days ago, that the 24-hour economy, if you bring anything under 24 coming in, like the machines and others, is duty-free. These are some of the things we want to see. So that could be channeled back into the agriculture itself, the production level. Once that happens, we are good to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Davis Kobo, who is president of FAGE. Thank you, Dr. Charles Nyaaba, former executive director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Thank you very much, John Dumelo, member of Parliament for Ayawaso West Wuogon and Deputy Minister, Food and Agriculture. Also, we're grateful to you, Dr. Andrew Sarkodie Appiah of BNARI GAEC, and to you, Emmanuel Ansah Aprofi, head of project at Agri1. Thank you also for doing the watching and the listening. My name is Winston Amwa. Keep watching the Joy News channel and listening to Joy 99.7 FM.